My 13-year-old niece giggled as she peeled the plastic off the $950 tablet I bought her. Mom says if you disappeared tomorrow, she chirped, no one would even notice. The words sliced through me, clean, sharp, surgical. Around us, the living room buzzed with noise, clinking glasses, loud chatter, and the artificial cheerfulness that only family gatherings seemed to brew. 30 people were there, uncles, cousins, old neighbors I hadn't seen in years. But in that moment, the only thing I could hear was Zoe's voice, and the way her laughter wrapped around the insult like a gift ribbon. My sister Meredith didn't even look up from her cocktail. She smirked, satisfied, like she'd just watched someone trip on stage and fall flat on their face. My mother, across the room by the cake table, gave a light chuckle and turned away, as if she hadn't heard, but I knew she had. Her shoulders always did that small twitch when she approved of something quietly. And Dad actually laughed out loud, raised his drink and said, "She's not wrong." Laughter rippled through the room. My cousins grinned. Even Uncle Ron, who never remembered my name without checking Facebook, let out a loud snort. I stood there like an idiot, holding a plate of deviled eggs, wondering if this was actually happening, my face flushed, my hands numb, but I didn't say a word. Because that's what I'd always done. Nod, smile, pretend. "Thanks for the tablet, Auntie," Zoe added, already leaning into Meredith's side, eyes glued to the glowing screen. My heartbeat was too loud, my mouth too dry. I watched her delicate fingers dance across the new device, so graceful and clean, nothing like her words. The living room suddenly felt smaller, the ceiling pressing down, the warmth of the people turning into suffocating heat. I wanted to scream, I wanted to disappear. But instead, I just nodded. Because that's what Alara Quinn always did. The fixer, the helper, the one who showed up, paid the bills, brought the gifts, and was never enough. Meredith finally glanced at me, meeting my eyes. There was something in her look, a flicker of triumph. Like she had waited years for this moment. The humiliation, the silence, the sting. She held it like a trophy. "All right, let's cut the cake," Mom announced cheerfully, clapping her hands, dragging the moment away with manufactured sweetness. But the bitterness clung to the back of my throat. I walked slowly to the kitchen, leaned against the marble counter. From there, I watched them gather around the cake, the candles being lit, the camera flashes, the wish Zoe made with a dramatic smile. I didn't hear what she wished for. I didn't care. My jaw clenched, my hands curled into fists at my sides. Something inside me had broken, and what was forming in its place wasn't sadness, it was ice. I reached into the pocket of my blazer and pulled out my phone. 2 taps, one for the Master Financial Hub app, one to deauthorize all linked accounts. I had set up everything for them. Meredith's streaming services, her utilities, her credit lines, Mom's medication subscriptions, Dad's online grocery deliveries, and car insurance auto payments. Even Zoe's school tablet plan, all gone. The buttons didn't tremble under my fingers. No second guesses. Just the quiet click of a digital guillotine. And just like that, I wasn't their ghost with a wallet anymore. I was just a ghost. No one noticed me slip out. No one stopped me. Not even Zoe. Still scrolling through her brand new screen. I got into my car, placed my hands on the wheel, and stared at my own reflection in the windshield. For a second, I didn't even recognize her. But I knew one thing, they'd remember me. Maybe not for the tablet, not for the holidays, not for the birthday cards or paid debts, but for what I'd leave behind. And I already knew exactly what it would be. I didn't go back to my parents' house. I didn't go back to my own either. Instead, I drove aimlessly through the quiet streets of Denver, headlights streaking past shops already closed for the night, restaurants winding down, couples walking hand in hand under the soft amber glow of street lamps. And I thought, what would happen if I disappeared tonight? Would Zoe laugh again? Would Meredith smirk and make a joke at brunch? Would anyone even remember the last thing I said? It didn't matter anymore. I drove to a 24-hour diner on Colfax, ordered a black coffee I didn't touch, and sat in the corner booth, scrolling through my phone. Not social media. There was nothing there for me. I opened folders, statements, screenshots, digital receipts, recordings. Every transaction, every favor. Every late-night bank transfer I'd made for people who now laughed when someone said I was invisible. I cataloged it all. By 2:15 a.m., I was back at my apartment. The city was asleep, but I was wide awake, wired with adrenaline and something colder, resolve. I stepped into the closet and spotted it right away. A black tactical backpack. Old, worn, but reliable. I used to take it on hiking trips, back when I still thought time for myself was something I was allowed to have. Tonight, it had a new purpose. I laid it on the kitchen counter and began filling it, not with clothes or toiletries, but with truth. 1. Printed financial records. Mortgages I helped refinance. Bills I paid under my name. 2. Voicemail transcriptions. Messages from Meredith begging for money after her third layoff. 3. Photos. Snapshots of birthday cakes I bought. Zoe's first bike. Paid in full by me, not Santa. 4. A USB drive, encrypted, containing recordings I'd kept as insurance. One of Dad calling me a useless burden while I was wiring money to cover his hospital bills. One of Mom telling a friend on speakerphone, Elara's just guilt-tripping her way into our good graces. And finally, on top of it all, I placed a letter. Just one page. If no one would notice if I disappeared, this is what you'll notice instead. What I did, what you took, and how I never asked for praise, only kindness. You laughed. Now read. Ilara. I zipped the bag shut and looked at it for a long moment. It sat there silently, compact, heavy, unassuming, like a time bomb of accountability. At 3:08 a.m., I parked 3 blocks from Meredith's house. No lights on, porch empty, the neighborhood dead quiet. I crept up the driveway, stepped carefully past the line of hydrangeas she always bragged about, and slipped inside through the side gate that never locked properly. Still didn't. The back door was dark. I didn't knock. I found the spot at the bottom of the stairs, under the coat rack where Zoe usually dropped her backpack, and I left it there. The black backpack. My final gift. I didn't linger. I slipped back into the night, heart pounding but mind calm. No one saw me. No one heard me. I disappeared exactly as they once wished I would. But what I left behind, that was going to echo. As I drove away, I could almost hear the future crack open. Meredith's screech when she found it. Mom's frantic whisper. Dad's anger barely masking his guilt. They wouldn't know what hit them. But when they opened it, they'd see it wasn't revenge. It was truth. And truth, as I've learned, is the most dangerous thing you can leave behind. The first message came at 7:12 a.m. Call me, now! From Meredith. I was already awake, sitting on the edge of my bed with a hot mug of peppermint tea I wasn't drinking. My phone buzzed again, then again, and again. By 7:30, I had 23 missed calls. The group chat titled Fam Bam, which I hadn't opened in over 6 months, was suddenly alive with chaos. Dad. What the hell is this crap in the bag? Mom. Is this some kind of sick joke? Meredith. Are you seriously spying on us? You've lost it, Ilara. I put my phone on airplane mode. Let them scream into the void. Let them choke on the silence they once thought meant nothing. The knock started around 9 a.m. My building's front door buzzed repeatedly. I didn't answer. Then came the pounding, raw fists slamming into wood, shaking the frame. Open up, Ilara! Dad's voice, sharp and cracking. I sat quietly at my kitchen table, reading the back of a cereal box like it was the morning paper. You think you can do this to your own family? He roared. I didn't move. You think you're better than us? You think we need you? And then something cracked. His voice, not the door. A tremble. A plea, hidden under all the anger. Please, just talk to us. He stayed for another 10 minutes, breathing hard, pacing in front of my door like a wolf cut off from the pack. Then footsteps. Then silence. I waited. 3 minutes. 5, 10. Then I laughed, because now they knew. Now, I was the one in control. An hour later, my phone lit up again. This time, a message from Mom. "How could you do this to your own mother? After all we did for you?" I didn't reply. Meredith tried next. A barrage of voice messages poured in, each one angrier than the last. "You think this makes you some kind of hero? Guess what? No one cares. You're just bitter and alone. Zoe's crying, you know that? You scared her." I played one of the voice memos from the USB again, the one where Meredith called me a walking ATM with abandonment issues. That grounded me. Around noon, I opened my blinds and saw Meredith's car parked across the street. She was sitting behind the wheel, arms crossed, eyes red. For a moment, the ache returned, that quiet guilt that had been branded into me since I was 8. But I closed the curtain. This wasn't about guilt anymore. This was about recognition, about finally forcing them to see me, not as the fixer, not as the wallet, but as a person with limits, with edges they could no longer dull. That night, the storm escalated. I had just stepped out of the shower when I heard it, metal turning in the front door lock. I froze. No one should have a key, no one except— The door swung open. Dad stormed in first, red-faced, breathing like a bull. Mom followed, her mascara already streaking, clutching her phone in one hand, a stack of papers in the other. "You think you can lock us out?" Dad shouted, voice echoing through the small apartment. I stood in a towel, dripping wet, but I didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't cover up. "Get out," I said, calm, cold. "You don't get to kick out your own family," Mom screamed. "This is what you've become? Heartless? Disgusting?" "No," I replied, slowly drying my hair with the towel. "I've become free." Dad stepped forward, his fists clenched. "You ungrateful brat, after everything we've done for you?" "No," I corrected. "Everything I've done for you, and now I'm done." They stared at me. Two people who had once been pillars of my world, now reduced to angry, aging silhouettes in a place they were never invited into. "You think you're so powerful," Dad spat. "You'll regret this." "I don't think," I said. "I know." Mom's voice cracked. "Alara, please! We're your family!" I stepped closer, eyes unblinking. "No," I whispered. "You were my mistake." That did it. They stood there for a few more seconds, then turned and walked out. No slamming, no screaming, just retreat. And for the first time in years, the only sound left behind was mine. Breathing, steady, certain, free. 2 days passed. No more door pounding, no more screaming voicemails. Only silence. But I knew better. Silence was never the end. It was just their way of circling back, sharpening their next move. So when Meredith texted, "Let's meet, just you and me, neutral ground, I want to fix this," I almost laughed, but I replied, 1 hour, Civic Center Cafe, public. Daylight. If this was a trap, I'd walk into it with both eyes open. The cafe sat on the edge of a sculpture garden, neutral, sterile, and blessedly public. I wore black slacks, a rust-colored blazer, and brought nothing but my wallet and my wits. When I walked in, Meredith was already there. Her hair was pulled back too tight, her makeup uneven, her eyes hollow in a way even concealer couldn't fix. But what caught my attention was what sat beside her, the black backpack. I slid into the seat across from her. Calm. Still. She didn't say hello. "You're really enjoying this, aren't you?" she hissed. "No," I said simply. "But I'm not apologizing for it." She opened the bag slowly and began pulling things out like they were weapons laid on a table. Printouts? Voice memos? Screenshots? "What is this, Alara? A smear campaign?" "This," I said, folding my hands, "is what you called invisible. This is the proof of what I've done for all of you. And the receipts for every time you laughed while I bled money into your life." Her jaw twitched. "You didn't have to do any of it." "Exactly," I smiled faintly. "And now I'm choosing not to." She shoved a stack of bills across the table. "You think you're noble? You're unwell. This kind of obsession, it's pathetic. I leaned back in my chair. You asked to meet, not me. She hesitated, her tone shifting. This isn't about me, Nalara. It's about Zoe. She's confused. She misses you. I said nothing. She's just a kid. She didn't know what she was saying. But you did, I said quietly. You planted that thought in her mouth. Just like Mom, just like Dad. You all think I'm too lonely to leave. Her lips curled. Aren't you? I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. Inside was a notarized letter. I slid it across the table. She opened it, scanning the contents, her face falling with every line. You're lying, she whispered. No. The trust fund is real. Grandma's. She left it in my name 5 years ago. She saw what was happening. She asked me not to tell you unless things got unmanageable. Meredith stared at me, stunned. I've been the executor this whole time, I continued. Every time you thought Mom bailed you out, it was me. Every time Dad got a lucky break, it was me. Her voice dropped. You're manipulating us. I tilted my head. I think you mean I was protecting you. Until now. She stood, clutching the black backpack and shaking hands. This is war, she spat. No, I said, my voice smooth and quiet. This is freedom. She walked out, and I let her go. The truth had been delivered. The silence after? That was the sound of power shifting. That night, I received an anonymous email. No sender name, no subject line, just a link. It was a video. Taken from a phone camera, blurry, shaky, but clear enough to show Meredith at her office, screaming at a coworker, slamming her hand on a desk, and throwing a folder to the floor. The caption read, "Is this who runs your division?" I blinked. So. They'd begun to implode. The next morning, an alert lit up on my screen. Withdrawal request denied, family trust account. Meredith had tried to access the money. I clicked deny, then flagged the account, then smiled, let them spiral. Let the chaos consume them. I wasn't part of that world anymore. I had burned the bridge, buried the ashes, and built a new life on the silence that followed. And the more they tried to drag me back, the deeper they sank. By Friday morning, my phone notifications had multiplied like roaches. I didn't even have to open them. The subject lines screamed loud enough. You won't believe what she did to her own parents. Ungrateful daughter steals from dying father. They'd gone public. A Facebook post, written by Mom and shared by Meredith, had made its way around our extended family and local community. A full 3 paragraphs of melodrama, half-truths, and pure invention. Our daughter Alara has been struggling with serious emotional issues for years. We tried to help. We gave her love, shelter, support. But she has cut us off and left us in debt and despair. She even left a disturbing package in our home, full of threats and lies. Please pray for us. And of course, photos. Old photos of me at family holidays, smiling, holding Zoe as a baby. Pictures meant to paint me as a beloved member turned rogue. But what they didn't expect was that I had kept everything. Receipts, voice memos, bank transfers, screenshots. I could have let it go, could have let them spiral. But then I saw the comments. People I didn't even know calling me broken, cold, a parasite. That's when I decided, no, not this time. That evening, I uploaded a private post to my professional network, LinkedIn. No drama, no slander, just facts. In response to recent defamatory claims, I'd like to clarify, I financially supported multiple family members for over a decade. I held legal power of administration over a trust fund. All records of support and transfers have been documented. I have since revoked my role and cut ties to preserve my mental health. I urge everyone to remember, silence is not weakness. Boundaries are not betrayal. Attached were redacted documents showing $96,000 in payments over the last 7 years. Within hours, the comments turned. Good for you. Proud of your courage. Cutting toxic ties is survival. Silence speaks louder than guilt. Even my company's HR director messaged me. We support you. Let us know if this escalates further. And just like that, their weaponized shame campaign collapsed. The next day, Meredith tried something new. She showed up outside my office building. I saw her through the glass, face pale, eyes bloodshot, holding Zoe's tablet like a peace offering. She waved at me, then started crying. My boss approached my desk. Alara, there's a woman downstairs asking for you. She's nobody, I said without looking up. Security arrived minutes later. I watched as they guided Meredith gently away. She didn't struggle. She just stood there, holding that tablet, staring up at my office window like it was a church altar. I turned away. That night, the building manager knocked on my door. "Hey, so there's been a scene downstairs," he said awkwardly. I raised an eyebrow. "Your parents are here," he added, "making a fuss in the lobby. Security told them to leave, but they're refusing. Want me to call the cops?" "No," I said. "I'll handle it." I walked to the window, peeled back the curtain. Sure enough, Mom and Dad, both shouting, Dad waving a stack of papers, Mom holding a framed photo of me as a child. I closed the curtain. Then I called the police myself. 30 minutes later, I watched from my third-floor window as they were escorted out, red-faced, shouting at the officers, Mom clinging to the photo like it was a baby. But this time, they didn't cry. They didn't beg. They threatened. Dad shouted into the night, "You think this is over? You think this makes you strong?" I whispered to myself. "It makes me free." Later that night, as I sat at my kitchen table sipping tea, I opened the black backpack again. The documents were still in perfect order. But I added one new thing. A printed screenshot of Meredith's Facebook post, and beneath it, handwritten in ink, "Let them lie. But let the truth sit quietly, waiting. Because the truth doesn't have to shout. It just has to survive." And I had made sure it would. I never intended to go public, but some stories deserve the light. 3 weeks after the Facebook smear campaign, I was invited to speak at a Women in Tech gala. The theme? Boundaries, burnout, and breaking cycles. Fitting. I almost declined, but something inside me, something that had been small and silent for too long, said, "Go. Tell them. Not for revenge. For every woman like you who's still trying to be enough." The ballroom was lit like a dream, crimson uplighting along the columns. Champagne bubbling quietly in tall glasses. People mingled, smiling, unaware that half the room was full of people barely keeping themselves together. Like I had been. My name was on the program. Ilara Quinn, Senior Systems Analyst, Speaker. When I stepped onto that stage, I wasn't just walking into a spotlight. I was walking out of a cage. I took a deep breath, adjusted the mic, and began. "Hi, I'm Ilara. I write algorithms by day and pay bills I never owed by night. Or at least I used to." Light laughter rippled. For years, I thought love meant sacrifice. That being good meant being quiet, being useful, being available. I was the fixer, the problem solver, the reliable one. Until the people I helped the most laughed in my face when they thought I wouldn't fight back. I paused. So I stopped fixing. I withdrew my money, my time, my silence. I left a backpack in a house full of people who once claimed they loved me. Inside was the truth. And I walked away. You could hear a pin drop. They said I was cruel, selfish, dramatic. But for the first time, I wasn't being used. And let me tell you something. There is nothing selfish about choosing yourself. Applause broke out. I looked down and smiled, not out of pride, but release. If you are the person always giving and getting nothing back, I hope you find the strength to disappear the way I did. Not in shame, in clarity, standing ovation. And in the back row, I saw her. One of Meredith's former coworkers. Filming. I didn't care. Let them see. By Monday, the clip had gone viral. Not worldwide viral, but enough. Within 72 hours, Meredith's boss at the boutique PR firm where she'd clawed her way back in put her on indefinite leave. A leaked email from her coworker read, "We cannot have a team member associated with this kind of documented behavior. My inbox, meanwhile, filled with messages from strangers. You told my story. Your words gave me permission to let go. Thank you, thank you. I didn't reply to all of them, but I read every one. That week, I updated my LinkedIn bio. I build systems that protect from intrusion. In work, in life. Meredith didn't text me after the gala, but Zoe did. One line, "You really hate us, huh?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back, "No, I just finally love myself more." No response. Good. At the end of that week, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, trembling cursive, from my mother. You humiliated us. You dragged our names into the dirt, all over a backpack, a few receipts. Family isn't perfect. You don't throw it away when it's messy. I almost laughed, but there was a line that stopped me. I hope the applause was worth losing your family forever. And for a moment, I thought about it. Not the applause, not the silence, not the chaos, but what I actually lost. Then I realized I didn't lose a family. I lost a weight I was never meant to carry. I folded the letter, slipped it into the black backpack, still tucked in my closet, and I wrote one final sticky note and placed it inside. This was never about revenge. This was about remembering who I was before I became your lifeline. They had tried shame, they had tried guilt, they had tried war, but nothing worked. Because when you no longer fear being alone, they have no power left to use. A week after the gala, silence returned. But it wasn't peace. It was waiting. I could feel it, like a storm circling just beyond the hills. They weren't done. They never are. It started again on a Tuesday. I had just finished a strategy meeting at work when my receptionist buzzed me. "Alara, there's someone here asking for you. She says it's urgent. Family." My stomach turned. I walked to the front desk, and there she was. Meredith, disheveled, eyes red-rimmed, mascara streaking. She looked like someone halfway through a meltdown, or halfway through a performance. I stayed behind the glass wall and motioned for the receptionist to tell her I was busy. But Meredith locked eyes with me and mouthed, "Please." I should have walked away, I almost did, but something in her face, not guilt, not shame, something I hadn't seen before. Desperation. So I sent one line to my assistant, "Reschedule my 2:30, and stepped outside. We met at the park bench across the street. Neutral ground. She didn't even sit at first, just stood there, arms crossed, mouth trembling. Then finally, "He's dying, Alara." I stared at her. "Who?" "Dad," she said softly. "Liver failure. He's not doing well. The doctors say—" "No," I said calmly. "He's not." She blinked. "What?" I checked his records. "What the hell?" "He's on the family trust's insurance plan, remember?" I said. "I'm still the administrator." She paled. "You forged a physician note, Meredith. Sloppy. You really thought I wouldn't verify?" Her mouth opened, then closed. "You always were good at grief theater," I added. "But now you're just out of material." She finally sat down, shoulders collapsing like a marionette with cut strings. "We're losing everything," she whispered. "The house, Mom's car, Zoe's school won't let her re-enroll because of missed payments." I said nothing. "I know I've made mistakes, Alara, but you've made your point. You won. What do you want? Revenge?" I looked at her, not with anger, not with pity, with clarity. "I don't want revenge," I said. "I want to live a life where I'm not constantly bleeding just to keep everyone else afloat." Meredith sniffed. "We're family." "No," I replied. "We were roommates in a house full of manipulation. I just didn't read the lease until now." She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. And in a way, she didn't. Because the woman who once would have written a $5,000 check just to keep Zoe in private school, she was gone. Meredith wiped her face. "Zoe misses you." I softened, just slightly. "She's 13. She'll understand someday. Or she won't. Either way, I'll be okay." A long silence passed between us. Then she asked the question I'd waited years to hear. Was it really that bad, living with us? I looked up at the sky, blue and cruelly perfect. Then I answered. It was like drowning, while everyone else used me as a flotation device. Meredith didn't respond. She stood, gathered her purse, and walked away. That night, I sat on my balcony, overlooking the Denver skyline, wine in hand. The air was crisp, the stars unusually visible. I opened my notes app and typed, "They will use illness. They will use children. They will use the word family like a chain. But when you've already bled out, their hands come up empty." I hit save. 2 days later, I received a text from Dad. Just one line. "I still have that photo of you in the hospital. The one where you were 6, smiling through tubes. You were a fighter then. I know you still are." I stared at it. A twisted attempt at reconnection, laced with guilt, wrapped in sentimentality. I deleted it. No reply, no emotion, no weight. Because I had finally learned the greatest truth of all. Guilt only works on those still asking for love. And I wasn't. Not anymore. Months passed. No screaming voicemails. No angry knocks on my door. No emails demanding explanations. Silence. At last. But not the uneasy kind that waits to be broken. No. This silence felt like air. Like space. Like life slowly expanding around me, without anyone reaching in to shrink it. I kept the black backpack, not as a trophy, not as a threat, but as a memorial. To the version of me that gave everything and only asked to be seen. She deserved better. Now she had it. My apartment felt more like mine every day. I painted the walls soft cream. Hung art I actually loved. No more prints gifted by Meredith with notes like, "This will make your place feel less cold." I grew herbs in small pots along the kitchen windowsill, learned how to bake lavender shortbread on weekends, took long walks around Cheeseman Park with nothing but music in my ears and no one else's opinions in my pocket. I started mentoring junior analysts in our company's women's leadership program. One of them, a bright-eyed intern named Riley, reminded me of myself at 24. Trying too hard. Apologizing for existing. One afternoon, after I helped her prep for a big presentation, she looked at me and said, "You make me feel like I'm not a mistake." I blinked back a tear, smiled. "You're not," I said. "No one ever is. Some of us are just raised in houses that make us believe we are." I passed the boutique where I used to buy Zoe's birthday dresses. I didn't go in. I walked past the bakery where I'd pick up Dad's favorite cranberry loaf every Sunday. I didn't slow down. None of those places were haunted anymore. Because ghosts only follow you if you look back. And I wasn't. One morning, I found myself on a quiet side street downtown. There was a street musician playing under a rusted awning, fingers soft on the strings, voice husky but honest. The lyrics weren't perfect. The rhythm was off. But it was raw. It was real. I stopped. He sang about loss. About letting go. About how sometimes freedom sounds like silence after too many slammed doors. When he finished, I tossed a $20 bill into the open case. He looked up, smiled. Not because he had to, not because I expected it, but because it was human, and that was enough. I smiled back. That was the difference. Later that week, I returned to that cafe across from the sculpture garden, the one where I had faced Meredith months ago. This time, I sat by the window. Alone. Laptop open. A folder titled, "Backpack Letters, a Memoir in Silence." I didn't know if I'd ever publish it. Didn't care. Writing wasn't about them anymore, it was about me. Every page I typed felt like pulling another splinter from beneath my skin. Every chapter healed a piece of me I didn't know was still broken. A month later, a card arrived in the mail. No name, no return address. Inside, one line. "We're sorry. You were right. We just didn't want to admit it." I smiled softly, folded it once, and tucked it into the black backpack. Let it rest there, among the history, where it belonged. I didn't reply. Some doors stay closed not out of anger, but because you've finally realized what's on the other side isn't worth opening to begin with. I wasn't angry anymore. I was untangled, unburdened, whole. I no longer waited for apologies, no longer explained my boundaries, No longer checked the shadows for hands trying to pull me back. I wasn't their fixer, their doormat, their shame sponge. I was Elara Quinn, alive, untethered, and free. What was the moment that struck you most in Alara's journey? Was it when she erased herself from their world, or when she chose peace over revenge? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to share this story with someone who needs a reminder. You don't owe your pain to people who call it love.